Well, this meeting to order of the Topsham Select Board, it's December 4th, 2025, and we are in the Donald A. Russell Meeting Room. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Patty, you call the roll, please.
I will. Roland Tubb,
Here.
Ann Callahan,
Present.
Ryan Holmes,
I am here.
David Kenny,
I am here.
Mike Labby,
I'm here.
all present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next item, Town Manager report.
Good evening. It's that time of year again. Dog licenses are due by December 31st. As we'd offered in the past, for those of you wanting pictures of your dogs displayed on the town sign, there are instructions provided upon registration. So it's kind of a neat thing that we did last year, and we're going to do it again this year. A friendly reminder that there will be an open house for Topsham Town Clerk Linda Dumont on her last day with the Town of Topsham. It'll be Friday the 12th from 11 to 2 in this room right here. Please join us in congratulating Linda in over 31 years of service for the Town of Topsham. And last but not least, Santa is coming to town. Please join Santa next Wednesday at the Topsham Public Library at 10:30 for some good books and refreshments.
Sounds like a fun time. All right, next item up, board and committee reports and updates. Tonight, we have an update on the Tedford Shelter. Reverend Carolyn Eklund will present.
Let me know when
Should be coming up right now.
we're good. Do I need to turn on? You need to share your screen. Yeah, so this is send request, I guess I need to.
Oh, there we go.
Request. And. Not sure. Let's see, sorry. Need to reduce my screen. Okay. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm just trying to reduce my screen here to share. This is not, I'm not sharing, so you can tell. See the green button down? Yeah, I do.
Perfect.
Hi. Well, I'm so glad to be here. I think you can see these slides. I have a few slides, and Jeff and I were interacting, and this is probably 15, 20 minutes, but you'll tell me when to cut it off. But it's we've got a lot to share, and I'm so glad that Town Manager Wilson and Select Board Member Ann invited me. I kind of invited myself because I had just given a Select Board presentation to Damar Scott at Select Board, and this was a really good presentation that I liked. Thank you so much. Thanks for reminding me. So we're being recorded. Thank you so much. I'm Carolyn Eklund. I'm president of the board. I've been on the Tedford Housing Board for 5 years, and it was 2 years ago, I retired from being rector of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Brunswick, and we were very, very active in the nonprofits and especially in housing, in Tedford housing. And so that's where I caught my passion to really help with this nonprofit. Let's see, I want to make sure I can. This slide, I think, is one of the most interesting slides. We are virtually a safety net for 40 towns in the surrounding area. And you can see partial work. We're really, you can see Tedford shelters. down at the bottom, that's like the northern part of Cumberland, you know, there's, part of Saginaw, there's, Androscoggin, and even Lincoln County, and so we, that's our, what we call a catchment area, we hear from people in all those areas. Tedford Shelter now has expanded to 20 adult beds, that says 16, but 20 adult beds, and to 10 family apartments. And these are apartments that can hold from 4 to 5 to 6 members of a family. And Anne was so nice to come for the tour, so I was chatting about all the new things that we've expanded in our shelter by 60%. These are the areas that Tedford Housing has expanded to. Homeless prevention from the very beginning. I remember when I was a rector and mothers would come in with their kids and say, I'm terrified of being evicted. And you talk to my landlord, which I was able to do that. I think that's a vulnerability that we can do something about and help people with evictions. So we do that at Tedford Housing. Emergency shelters, you know about, I just talked about those, we've expanded those. Supportive housing, that's called permanent supportive housing. We've got 5 apartments one in Brunswick, Bath, not listed, Auburn, Augusta. So we've got apartments that people have finally gotten into to stabilize their lives, and a case manager to help them stay in that housing. And then we've got fuel assistance, or My Neighbor, and that's completely run by volunteers. They screen folks and distribute the funding. And then the warming center, and I just wanted to say thank you. This was the room we met in 2 summers ago that really, and you were part of that. And we were really trying to figure out which municipalities, who was gonna write the grant for Maine Housing to really sponsor the warming center. And Tedford Housing agreed to do that, and this is our 2nd year. I'm volunteering there because we've added meals to that. It's not just a place to stay for the winter nights, but meals as well. And so we're at 27 people now, and it's only been open for two weeks. And we have capacity for 35 people. Just to give you an idea of where in Saginaw County, for the last 2 years, here's a rundown of the towns and what services that we know we're able to identify, because our case managers are able to identify where people are coming from. And so you can see that there's a whole distribution of towns in Saginaw County that really need our services and come and use our services. So, but I also want to just say that this slide is, you don't see it, but there are 6 of these 10 towns who are part of our municipality contributions. So we've got like Aroostook, Bath, Bodenham is a new contributor. Pittsburgh has been contributing in a small amount every year. Richmond and Woolwich. And so I just wanted you to see that, that your sibling towns are really helping out. And I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know what's happening, and it's an update in Saginaw County. This is what people are looking at. If they're looking at rental assistance, heat assistance, family shelter, adult shelter, warming center, and outreach support navigation. We try to capture as many people who are possibly from like your area that are finding themselves in another town. I mean, it's kind of a moving target sometimes when people are unhoused. They try to figure out where they can go to find services. So this is a slide that describes that. This one, just let me tell you, this is a model of how we're trying to figure out, bed nights, individuals, family nights, what we think it costs per family, per person, to house folks. So we've never had a model that made a kind of an estimate of how much it might cost total outlay on our end for the kind of people or kind of services we're providing. So it's a list of the services on the left, and then what we really estimate that it might cost for, let's say Topsham residents, because we know just through our case managers, the people who are telling us they're from Topsham. So just wanted you to know that this is a model that we're working with, for several municipalities and several towns. We don't have it, we have it for the 3 years from the fiscal year 22 to 25. We don't have it for the warming center because of course this is only our second year. And people who are in the warming center don't really want to let us know. Bye. And if you have any questions, let me know. This is kind of the heartbreak. There's a couple of heartbreaks here, but this is the adult shelter. The number we had to turn away in the last 3 years. Family shelter, and again, turn away. So we're still not at a level that can even capture and help everybody find shelter. But we've added 60% to our own nonprofit and our own capacity. And that's something that we really appreciate everybody's help. This is just some Maine Department of Education. Again, it's a heartbreak. How many children just in the school system, and this is Maine Department of Education, unhoused children, unsheltered, those who are sheltered, who are shelters, hotels, motels, doubled up. You may have the term couch surfing. We have some people in my church, some kids that were couch surfing with their best friends. And that's, we know people like that, I think. And so that's another heartbreak that we are keeping track of. Again, Maine Department of Education based on counties. So, South Androscoggin, Lincoln, Saginaw, and North Cumberland, again, these are our catchment areas. And what you see then is our homelessness children in K through 12 in our area, and something that is increasing, especially in South Androscoggin County. Again, heartbreak. I wanted to also just talk about this year, the Winter Warming Center. Well, it opened November 15th and will close April 30th. Already people are, a month ago, I volunteered at the gathering place, and that's the day shelter in Brunswick. And already over a month ago, people were starting to gather their blankets and their resources and just to try to prepare for the winter. And so this warming center is right next to the gathering place in Brunswick. It near transportation, it's near services, it's near the grocery store. And tonight they were already lining up because we opened this year at 4 o'clock so that people can have a warm place to stay and a meal. And then Jim helped us understand fire code, or I'll never forget. And so now we're able to got a watering system, fire, system, and we were able to dim the lights, and we've got mats, very comfortable mats for people this year, and they really appreciate that. The new facility, we had ribbon cutting 2 weeks ago, and it was very exciting. We've got a playground for the kids. If you look on the left, there are 10 individual apartments for families. Full kitchen on one part of the apartment, and then a place for sleeping, like for the adults, and then another place right next to it for the kids. And we could probably put a family of 7 in one of those. And that whole wing then goes right out to the playground. And we're really excited. We're moving in right as we speak. The other wing is individual for adults. There are four beds to a room and a separate bathroom. There are a couple of rooms that are handicap accessible for adults. There's a nice dining room. I don't know if you guys are part of a community that does the meal a month, but we've got every single evening, like a faith community or neighborhood has been providing a full meal every evening for the adult shelter. In the family shelter, there's a kitchen, so they would prefer to prepare their own meals. But in the adult shelter, we've got a rotating group of volunteers that prepare meals and bring them in. And so there's a great kitchen now that they can serve in the dining room. And then a lounge that has a TV and really nice sunshine that comes in. So, I don't know if we're giving tours anymore, but let me know and I'll see if I can work something out before everybody moves in. We'll be in by the end of the year. Our guests will be in by the end of the year, the current guests. And then we'll know we'll have extra space to then bring in people who would had to be on the waiting list. Just want you to know that most everything is, the majority of the revenue is philanthropy. People are writing checks. The foundation, private and public foundations are writing checks. We added another maybe 250 people, new people writing checks for the capital campaign that helped us build the shelter. We have state funds, thank goodness for Maine housing. We applied for a lot of state grants and county grants. And then federal funds, which are uncertain at this time. HUD is revamping permanent supportive housing, and that'll probably affect how we're funded. And I don't know what's going to happen with Medicaid. We don't really know. So we've done a study and a forecast of where we might be vulnerable with federal funds, but it won't. You can see that federal funds, if they're withdrawn or if we don't access those, it won't sink us. And so we'll figure out how to readjust our mission if that happens. It's still pretty uncertain. If you guys know anything, let me know. So the expansion, like I said, 60% of the shelter has been expanded. We were in two buildings. One building we rented for $1 from Brunswick Housing. That's on Federal Street. There were 6 kind of not great apartments in that old building. And so we're moving into these great apartments in the new structure. The other building we own is on Cumberland Street, about 100 years old. And so we looked to see if we could revamp it and make it modern or expand. That wasn't going to work at all. So we found this piece of property on Thomas Point Road, and planning board and the town council approved it. And so now the building is there. It is beautiful. And there's a huge mural that's being painted on there's a storage building. There's people who are unhoused. I don't know, come visit. You can see people just carrying the earthly goods with them. So to have a storage room, a storage building is really, really helpful. So you can see where we've expanded, the shelter expanded, and how much more that's going to cost us to run the shelter, the expanded shelter. I don't know if you have any questions about like the financing, but you can see the distribution of all of our services and then the actual increase for next year that we're planning on having. And then I love this graph because you can see then very clearly that the donations, we really are going to have to really beef up our donations, and we're working really diligently on private, public, individual finances. You can see that the state and federal has increased, and we expect it to increase because the state funding is really important for Maine. So, and we write the grants for Maine housing. Program means that's any income we get from rental, from our permanent supportive housing rentals. So what's great is when people are stable enough and they move into one of our permanent supportive housing with a case manager to help them stay stabilized, they pay rent. And so we kind of break even on that. And so that's a pretty good deal. I hope to continue that. We don't know what that's going to do, but hopefully it's hopeful. And then the grants and foundations, and then you see the municipal and county. That's purple. And that's a beautiful color. I just love that color. And we're making headway. We're just asking municipalities here and there to just understand that we really would love to have support from the municipalities, and is coming and it's slow. And I understand it's, tax dollars. In Brunswick, there's a social services line item and it hadn't been funded and it was 2 years ago, it started to be funded. There was $20,000 and they asked for grants, for social service grants. And so we would apply every year. We would receive something from Brunswick and we're very grateful. They added another $25,000 to that line item for next year. So, I'm really pleased with that. And that doesn't mean we're gonna get any of it, but we apply for every year we apply for that, a piece of that grant. So just, we're visiting municipalities and we're updating, the municipalities on what we're doing. And it's important work and we're all in this together. And housing is a real struggle. The social safety net really started becoming dismantled in the 80s and it's really kind of still not stable. And so the nonprofits are doing what they can and it's really, I think, up to a lot of us to help stabilize housing in our towns. So this is how we're planning to fund our expanded services. So ongoing advocacy, we've got the word lobbying. We've got a group of folks who are nonprofits in housing, and we have an organized way of really supporting some of the legislation that's coming through in Augusta. So that's really going to be important. Federal, we're just keeping track of what HUD is going to be doing, and for permanent supportive housing. Donations, we're reaching out to new businesses, and we've got different programs and events. You can see there's a parade picture there where we're showing up in towns in the parades. We got Revision Energy has sponsored us with a float, and we are making our name known in towns. We have a new plan giving program and new stewardship practices. And then we just expanded our grant applications. And then appeals to 4 different counties. Lincoln County has approved for the county about $12,000 for next year. So we're hopeful that we can really help some of the towns in Lincoln County next year. I think that might be it. And that's it.
Well, Carolyn, I just want to say thank you so much for providing this presentation because it's helpful to all of us on the select board to just know what housing availability is in the area if we weren't aware of it. And I just appreciate you coming in to give us this presentation.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting us to show up and give you the latest. This is really the latest, and I'm happy to send you. I just got my digital copy of the annual report, and I can email you a copy. Thank you.
Any questions?
Just, what do you attribute the growth, the use of your services is going up, pretty steadily. So what's really driving that? Are there new people coming into the year, or just more people having
Good question.
events, in your life?
The United Way nationally keeps track of towns, it's the Alice report, and it's every year they do let's see if I can come up with the acronym. It's the people who are the working people, families who are the most vulnerable in areas where they can't make ends meet because housing is so expensive. So that's a huge factor. And so, they're employed, but they're vulnerable because they can't really make ends meet as their family. And there's, I think there's just a huge degree of people in the poverty level that are working. And there are people living in their cars that have jobs, and that's just something we're working to try to undo. But it's a big job.
Certainly is. But thank you very much. We really appreciate the update. Okay. Next on the calendar, the consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the regular select board meeting held November 20th, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Okay, moved and second, all in favor? Moved by Ryan, seconded by Mike.
Oh.
She's, I was attempting to be trained today. I was-
Caught me off guard.
All right. We can get through this one. I think we're in pretty good shape today, so. All right, 25 on new business, 25-103, consideration and any appropriate action on the approval of the use of the Forsyth Recreation Area to host a rest stop for the trek across Maine on Friday, June 19th, 2026.
Evening, Pam Leduc, Parks and Recreation Director. My apologies to the two new select board members. I didn't provide a full spectrum of the information, but last year we were asked to host the trek across Maine by the Maine American Lung Association. It takes place every year in June, and they started last year from Poland, from the Pineland Farms. And they plan to do that again. They have lost their location in Brunswick at Thomas Point Beach. So they had to readjust. And so their first leg of the race starts in Pineland Farms and comes through Topsham, through Brunswick, Freeport, Route 1, and comes in. Last year, they had to adjust their course because they were headed, they found out that Bowden had a bridge out and there were some discrepancies in how to get places. They had a very difficult route that came into the Forsyth Recreation Area, but then they came back out and along 201, up 201 and out Meadow Road, which was a very difficult situation. But with a lot of meetings and a lot of contact with each other, we were able to get through it and make it safe for folks. I mean, if you've ridden out to distance on Meadow Road, you know, can't imagine being on a bicycle out there. Let's put it that way. So I'm happy to say that has changed for this year. And I just received a letter yesterday from the course director, who happens to be a former MDOT contact. So he has good contact with where things are being fixed or moved and such. So this year they'll be coming off the coastal connector off at the bike ramp, coming out Forsyth and continuing out Forsyth. And they tell us that the the Forsyth Bridge out on the Muddy River is not scheduled to be replaced until next year. So they received notification that what we had concern, and when select person Nixon was here, he was concerned, Nixon was here, he was concerned that they would be going by his place, but the bridge is not being worked on this year. So they have a direct course straight out Forsyth and out to Bowden. They require at this time, as they secure places, to ask us to sign a letter. And last year you approved that I had your permission to sign a form because the Forsyth Road doesn't have, our policy is not specific to what they usually, what this entails. And normally it's not just a regular rental. This is something specific to the site. They'll be erecting a tent, doing all that. Last year, everything occurred with no incident, everything was smooth. We did have our community paramedic on site just in case they needed anything. Elizabeth reported to me she only had one or two minor situations that she helped with, but nothing extravagant. And they do a wonderful system of communication. They work with the ham radio operators, so they know where people are and how they're moving and where the last and the first person is, and they run a pretty smooth ship. So I'm asking your permission to allow them to use our facility, the parking lot next to the American Legion. They do communicate with the American Legion as well, and they have the porta potties on solid ground on their parking lot. They came in on Thursday, erected the tent. The riders came through between 9 and 12 o'clock Friday morning, and they came back and cleaned everything up on Monday morning, and everything was gone with no incidents.
They did that last year?
Yes,
See, they were so good, I didn't even know they were
You
here.
didn't even know they were here.
And that's just the east side, the fourth side, they're
It
not
is,
gonna
yeah.
be using the other side.
No, they don't. We did talk a lot about it, what was best. We felt it was best to keep them on that side of the road, so they're not coming around that corner. There's nothing, to be concerned with. They set up bike racks, they drop them, they go in and get refreshments, use the restroom and get on their way. And this time they won't be coming back out Forsyth, they'll keep going out Forsyth. Safer place to ride.
Nice sidewalks, the guardrails and everything too.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, looking for a motion?
Sure, I make a motion that we use the Forsyth recreational area to host a rest stop for the trek across Maine on Friday and allow our Parks and Recreation Director to,
Sign the letter of
sign the letter of agreement.
Thank you.
Second,
That's second.
okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That's before we go, can we go into questions?
Yeah.
That were seconded. We don't currently have a town policy on rentals. Is there a monetary value set with this, or it's not that?
This is a donation. They're raising money for the American Lung Association, so it's really looked at, we're being supportive for a nonprofit.
Forgive my
Yeah,
lack of knowledge in that. And the other thing is, are we providing any services for them? Just the field?
the only thing we're aware of is that the police on duty are aware, we'll meet probably a month before with fire and police safety.
Okay,
So that everyone's in tune with what's going on. We'll have numbers, I distribute numbers to both departments in regards to who to reach out to that particular day. Last year it was Frater Bashan that was on the police department, so we communicate all of that and are aware of who to be in contact with. And Elizabeth our community paramedic, did do a lot of work at the field communicating it to the police department if there were any issues.
like I said, I didn't know what happened last year.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
make sure that we're not, I guess we did it last year, so we did it then too, but, if there's a policy in place that needs to be in place, or if this opens doors for future things, I don't see that happening here. I just wanna make sure that we're.
Yeah, the current policy we have, this doesn't fit within, and that's why it comes to you.
Right.
And that's the reason we're here.
So it's like the one time ask, because it doesn't fall under the parameters of something that
What
we
we
do. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a
So
motion and a second. All
we
in
already
favor?
had Ann and David's.
Yes.
motion.
Yep.
Yes.
All in favor? You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are now going into executive session. I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA Section 4056A, to discuss personnel matters.
Second.
All right, moving second, all in favor? Okay. In executive
Motion
session,
by Roland, motion by Roland and
yes.
second by Dirk. Okay.
Goes on this.
Brian.